Natalie Thurston, VP of Select, whatever that means. Thank you for coming tonight. The SIU and the board would like to welcome Mario Sanchez to give us an overview of recruiting 101, if you're interested in playing college, what it takes. I think one thing through the years is some kids have always said, well, we didn't even know we could play in college. Soccer is different than basketball. We've been blessed in this area recently to have Romeo, and we've watched the fanfare with IU coming down and the hoopla. And if you're a New Albany person, if you're a Floyd Central person, we've watched it with Kobe Barnes recently. We've watched it with Rondell Moore, who is at Purdue, a New Albany person as well. Soccer is different, and it's a completely different model. So we wanted to bring the information to you so that if you are interested in playing soccer, and any of you boys and girls could play in college, how do you do it? What are the steps that you need to do, and when do you start? So I'd like to introduce Mario Sanchez, the Director of Youth Development for Louisville City. More importantly, Mario has 20 years of NCAA coaching experience. He was assistant coach at U of L under Ken Lola. He was also the assistant coach at Akron, which a lot of you may not know. Akron's has been in the Final Four several times. They had some IU connections. And also the coach at Southern Illinois University of Edwardsville. So great coaching experience, a great reference. So please take notes. We have handouts for you, and feel free to ask any questions that you want because we have him for this block of time.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
thank you guys for allowing me to speak. The first thing I want to say is at any point you have a question, just put your hand up, shout it out, whatever. Because it could be a lot of information. The packets, we're going to share everything. And have you sent out an email yet?
Not yet.
The club will send it out to you guys as well, so don't worry about that. And I also told everyone that you can share this with anybody. So if there's other families that the club couldn't make it, this is free for everybody. There's no secrets. As we go through this, one thing I want to just stress, okay, and Natalie nailed it. There is an opportunity to play college soccer. Now, what sometimes people get confused about is when we think of college athletics, we only think of the Big Ten, the ACC, the Pac-12, all the big schools that we all see, which is fantastic and it's great. Okay, but you have Division I, Division II, Division III, NAIA programs, junior college programs, okay? And there are a ton of opportunities. And one thing I always stress to people that being a part of a college athletic team, obviously specifically soccer, is one of the funnest experiences you can have. And it's a lot of work and it takes dedication, but it is a great experience. You get a family away from home right away, and then the other part is you get a lot of academic support. It doesn't matter, again, if you're a junior college player, if you're at U of L or wherever, the NCAA and most organizations have done a great job of giving you academic support. Little stuff like a lot of times you get priority registration, which becomes a really big deal. The students in the room probably don't know that, but as adults we know that's a big deal to help you graduate on time. So there's a lot of benefits that come to being a college athlete, not just the big lights and all that. There's a lot of also benefits to that. Okay, so again, question anytime, please ask. There's a little bit of difference in the recruiting side between boys and girls. How many females do we have, just out of curiosity, or parents of females? Okay, so as we get into it, please ask, because it is different on the female side because of, quite honestly, Title IX and gender equity. All right, where's my board, right? Perfect. All right, so we already went that, my background. Okay, done plenty of it, and now we'll go on. So here's what I always like to start off. Why do you want to play college soccer? The first thing I have is parental influence. And it sounds kind of funny, like why would I put that? Well, unfortunately, what I've learned over 20 years is there's a large percentage of kids that pursue a college soccer career because, I'll be very honest, because of the pressure from home. Right? You play club soccer, you play, from the age of 5 all the way to 18, families are involved, and a lot of kids, just being very, very upfront, a lot of kids get to the college level, and typically about almost 60% of kids after the freshman year quit. and a big percentage quit because their parents finally leave them alone, and they finally have the freedom to make their own choice. I'm being very honest with you. So we have, every year a few kids will walk in and they just say, Coach, I'm over it. And I say, well, you know, why did you think you want to do it? Oh, I didn't want to let my parents down. I said, well, what do you mean? Oh, you know what, from 5 years old all the way through, and my parents said, well, I spent all this money traveling around for you. It's the least you can do. And that's just, it's just the honest truth. 20 years of experience. So I just bring that up, that make sure as you go through the process that it's for, and I'm speaking to the parents, it's for your child, okay? And on the flip side, when kids graduate after 4 years of college soccer, the parents are crying more than the kids are. A lot of times the kids are like, oh, finally, I'm done with it. And the parents are like, what are we going to do now? We've been following our child for so long. But that's a big part. The next part, is it just the next step in your playing career? So the other side of it, why kids quit, is, again, they've played for so long, and then they just figure, well, I've been playing for 15 years, for 14 years. I figure it was just the next step. And then they realize that, again, when they go to college, they actually have a choice. And it might not be the parents forcing them, but they quit because they're like, you know what, I'm burnt out, different reasons. So again, you have to make sure, and I put those two first because it is a big commitment. Whether you go whatever level, Division 1, 2, or 3, junior college, it is a big time commitment. So you have to understand, now I'm talking to the kids in the room, that if it's something you want to do, be passionate about it, okay? Because it takes a lot of work, a lot of dedication. Now we go into kind of the better stuff, development. Like hopefully you want to play college soccer because you want to continue to get better, right? You want to be the challenge of it all. We talk about social status, right? Are you, and that gets in the recruiting side, are you looking at certain schools because it's just the cool school? It feels cool to wear the sweatshirt around. Okay, make sure you're doing the right thing. Academic support, like I talked about, is tremendous at the college level when you become an athlete. And that goes for every sport. And then, you love playing, you want the challenge. Hopefully, that for everyone, it's more, the academic side, the development side, and then you just love playing. Those should be the focus of why you want to play in college. All right, next slide. Okay, so why do you want to play? If it's to get a scholarship, don't do it. Okay, I'm telling you right now, the odds are not in your favor. Next slide. Okay, so there's stats coming up next, but just so everyone knows, Division I men's soccer, okay, basically you have 10 scholarships. That's for the whole team. Typical roster, Division I, is about 30 kids. Yeah, already, so they're like, oh boy. Okay, so you can see the odds are not in your favor whatsoever. Goes through it for women. Generally, women are going to have more opportunities because of Title IX. And we'll get into that later on. Okay? But I go back to it. If you're playing as a parent, if you're like, I'm investing all this money, it's going to come back to me. Go invest in, like you hear it all the time, invest in school, a tutor. It'll be a better payoff. Yes?
My understanding also is that for college scholarships for soccer, they are not full ride. Generally, it's basketball and football that are full ride.
So they have, when I was doing it, you have 9.9, you can do what you want. You can give out 9 full rides. You can split them up. You can give a kid 10%, 20, whatever you want. At the prior to each season, we turn in our budgets and all that, and then they have to add up to 9.9. The number. I know it's a weird number. What happened? It used to be 11. You have 11 players on the field. It used to be 11, and then there was a lawsuit in the 80s, Title IX lawsuit, and they cut men's sports 10% across the board, so that's how you got to this weird 9.9. But to answer your question, it's not 100. There are kids that do get full scholarship for soccer. Basketball and football, more basketball, because football you do have walk-on. On the basketball, if you're on the team, you get a full ride. That's so. A lot of times when you push in this area with all the basketball being played, and the kids going to IU, whatever, they're going to be on a full ride. Soccer, you can do whatever you want. Yes.
What's the roster size?
For soccer?
So 9.9 or 14 split up. How many?
Generally, Division I men's is 30 on average. Girls tend to be a little bit higher, 32 to 34. because of Title IX, they usually make the female sports carry more athletes. So it gets very, very competitive for those scholarship dollars. Good questions, very good questions. Again, I put this in the very beginning because this is a reality. Like I say, if you're trying to get a scholarship, the reality is it's very, very difficult. Yep, next slide. So here's the stats. I highlight yellow. I know it might be hard. It's on the sheet. Basically, men's soccer at the high school level, right, you have almost 500,000 kids play. Only 25,000 go on. So only 5% go on to NCAA sports. Okay, only 5% of kids from the high school level go on to play. And that's Division 1, 2, or 3. Only 1.3% go to Division 1. So that's, and I bring that up I'm not trying to burst bubbles and dreams, because I just want to make sure everyone understands, okay, that it's a hard road, right? And if you get there, it's awesome, okay? But it's a very difficult road. Very, very difficult road. And then on I may have the women's. The next one? I do. Okay, women, again, because of participation, their numbers are a little bit higher. 7% go on to Division NCAA sports. Still only 2.5% basically go on to Division 1. Okay, so I just want to be very upfront with it, so you understand the challenge of it all and why you should play sports. It's not to get a scholarship or even to try to get to the NCAA level class. You should play sports because it's fun, you can get better, and it creates a good lifestyle. All right, next slide. Okay, so the first step. Now we're going to kind of get into the recruiting process. All right, and after all that bad news about no money and odds of making it very difficult, you say, well, forget it. I'm out of here. Okay, but no, it is very doable. And a lot of kids, there's going to be kids in this room that people say, oh, he'll never play. And all of a sudden they stick with it, and they make it. Most kids who don't get the opportunities, they just don't put the work into it. It takes work to get recruited. Do not think that it's like everyone hears about college football and basketball. It doesn't happen that way. Very, very few kids in the sport of soccer get really hard recruited. Okay? You have to actually put yourself out there and do the work. Okay? So the first step for me, and I have 4 kids, okay, know what you're looking for outside of soccer. So take soccer out of the equation. You're getting into high school, and even now as a family you're planning. Okay, look, I know for me, finance. What is your budget? Okay, and I put not counting on any athletic aid. So as a family, you got to sit down, and for me, again, with 4 kids, it's real. All right, we can afford X amount of dollars. That could dictate where you start looking, which is fine. That's just reality. Start, for me, I think it's a good place to start, and have that talk with your child, and okay. This is reality. Here's what we can afford. I come from a family of 7 kids. I mean, there's 7 of us. My parents said day one, good luck. You're on your own. Figure it out. And all of us had to figure it out. I know it's different nowadays, but that was reality for me. Okay, so figure out, again, what the budget is. Do you want to have loans? All that stuff that goes into it. Okay, it's not. Everyone's going to be different. Location. Right? A lot of kids have these big dreams. Oh, I want to go to LA. Or I had a niece, I'm from LA, and most of my family's out there. I had a niece who grew up by the beach, and she's like, she thought it'd be cool to go to the East Coast, to Boston. So my sister and brother-in-law sent her out to Boston in the middle of winter, and after one weekend in Boston, she ended up at University of Miami, because there was no way she was going to spend her whole college career in the cold. So yeah, location's big. You want to be far away from home. All those factors, you start to come up with ideas about schools in an area. Major, that's a hard one. I know I switched, I think, 4 different times. My degree's in marketing. I've never done anything that. I'm a coach. But if you have an idea what the major is, start looking at schools. Also, what schools? I'll be honest. When I was at U of L. Okay, it was very difficult for kids to be engineering majors. We practiced in the morning. The engineering program, most of the classes were in the morning. It was very, very, very difficult for kids to major in engineering and also play soccer at U of L. That's part of it. I mean, it wasn't a negative. That's just part of it. And other schools are similar to that, especially at the Division I level. Division II, Division III, okay, little more flexibility with the coaching staff and kind of the expectations. Not that you don't miss class or you might miss a practice at Division I level, but the expectations are a little bit different. So make sure the schools you're looking to have your potential major. And then it's just overall school environment. Do you want the big class sizes, lecture hall with 200-300 people, or do you want the a small school with 50 to 20? Big athletic school. SIUE, the school I just got done coaching at, there was no football. We lost kids recruiting-wise because they wanted to go to a football school. Even though they didn't play, they wanted the Saturday afternoons, the big football games and all that, which is fine, but that's part of the factor. Have an idea of what you want. Relationship with professors. One of my sisters did go to UCLA. She was taught by TAs, basically. All the professors are doing research. So, all those little factors go into it. I put down alumni. That's a big deal. When you go try to get your first job, a lot of alumni. So if you look, this has nothing to do with soccer. And I really stress this, that when you're going to look for the right fit, when you begin the recruiting process, try to find everything but soccer, because soccer becomes a very small part of it. It's a fun part, but you got to make sure you get all this right. Because if you don't get this part right and the soccer's not right, then you're probably going to end up transferring or maybe withdrawing, doing different things or quitting something, and it just becomes a very difficult 4 years. Questions? All right, next slide. So the next step, then the second step, once you kind of get through that parameters that I talked about, what kind of soccer school should you look at? Again, you have Division I, II, III, NAIA, junior college, and I keep it up. Junior college programs, just so you guys know, have a lot of aid, a lot, and it kind of varies state by state. Again, just being from California, like junior colleges in California don't give out athletic scholarships. Arizona did, Nevada did, so states around there. A lot around here do. Southern Illinois, Missouri schools, Illinois schools gave a lot of scholarships away for junior college programs. But you got to start figuring out, okay, what level should I look at? And the best way is to go watch. You guys are kind of blessed around here. You got some of the best college soccer between IU and U of L around you. You got very good Division II schools. You have a lot of Division III schools around you. You got junior college around you. It's time consuming, okay? But you want to go watch as many games as you can. So you got to start being honest with yourself and say, okay, what level can I play at? And it's not negative, it's positive, because you don't want to, I don't want to say waste your time, but you don't want to chase something that if you're truly not at that level, right, you could be spinning your wheels, which we'll go on to the next one. The third and hardest step, all right, in the whole part, self-evaluate. Okay? You have to, as a family, you have to self-evaluate. You have to put your ego aside. You got to go watch some different levels. And as a family, say, okay, what kind of player am I? What gives me the best opportunity to get recruited, to make a team, and potentially get maybe some scholarship? And this is the part where a lot of kids, I can speak to you guys wholeheartedly as a coach, for 20 years of doing this is where most kids go wrong. And I say this humbly, right? Now, I was at the Division I level, so a lot of families and kids, their goal is to play Division I, and 100%. So I'm not trying to tell you don't aim high, but you have to be realistic, because a lot of families spend a lot of money chasing it. And we'll get into camps and all that stuff, but they spend a lot of money going after it, where they may have been a Division II type player, maybe in Division III, and they could have spent more resources looking at those schools. It's hard because it's humbling. We all want the best. All of us do. And it's very difficult, and that's why it's the hardest part. Okay, self-evaluate. So I had to know what kind of feedback am I receiving. And so as you get into your high school years, if by chance, if you're getting all Division I emails, we'll get into when I put real, but if IU and U of L and schools around UK are emailing you, that tells you you're a top Division I player. If you're getting majority from Division II schools, from Division III, junior college, that'll give you an idea. And again, at schools I've been at, U of L, kids will, I'm dying to go there, and if a kid I haven't seen play, I said, are there other schools you're talking to? And if they're telling me all Division II, Division III, there's nothing wrong with that. I'll just tell them, look, I said, I appreciate you being interested here at U of L, but I haven't seen you, but what I'm hearing probably is that you're, maybe should be looking at Division II schools. I mean, I don't like saying it, but I'm just trying to help out families out and the kids out. Okay? Real email. So how many high school kids, like sophomores, juniors in high school, do we have in the room? We have a couple. You may start to get a lot of emails from colleges about ID camps, residential camps. They're good for different reasons, but don't confuse those with recruiting emails. Right? If they're constantly inviting you to camps, hey, well, come to our ID camp, come to our overnight camp. Those are good experiences for different reasons, but that's not a real recruiting email. You'll know a real one when the coach says, hey, I saw you play at this game at this time. Here's what I like about you. I contacted your club coach or high school coach. The letter's drastically different versus you can kind of tell it's a form letter. Hey, you're considered one of the top prospects in Indiana. Right? Come to our camp. It's a big difference. So make sure as you go through, as you get older, that you can I tell parents, be intelligent about it, about what kind of email you're getting. Is it a form letter saying, hey, come to our camp, or is it legitimate, some specifics? If you get an email you're not sure, email the coach back. Hey, where did you see me play? What did you like about me? Kind of put it on them, and you'll find out right away, did they really see you play? Okay. Again, what level's best? Go watch games. Training, you can always go watch training. Okay? Trainings generally are always open. That's a really good way to evaluate the level of play. Okay? Then the next thing, time commitment. Division I and II, you're going to spend upwards of 20 hours per week, almost the whole academic year, with your sport. And that's a minimum. As coaches, we have to turn in practice logs, and basically anything that's required of the athlete, it has to be logged. So if we practice at 8, so to 10, and then you have weights to 11, so from 8 to 11, that's 3 hours. If I make a soccer player come in to do video, we have to log that. What you don't have to log is if you're hurt, or if you need treatment before practice. So if we practice at 8 and you got to come at 7, that hour from 7 to 8 doesn't get logged. So what a real day is, it could be actually 4 or 5 hours a day, and you'll end up being 25, 30 hours. Travel doesn't get logged as well. So in season, from August to basically December, you're talking it's almost a full-time job on top of your academics. So it's a big, big time commitment. So Division I, Division II, you basically do that the academic year. Division III, it's a different model. It's very much more academic based. The fall is the same, but in the spring, they only get 16 opportunities to practice, and they only get one day to play games. They can play 2 on the day, but it's a completely different model. For me, the Division III model is what the NCAA, I think initially, 75, 80 years ago was supposed to be, and now it's evolved. The Division III model is a very, very good model. It's a very strong academic model. The focus still, you have a good experience, very good soccer at the Division III level, but you also get a lot of time to focus on the academics as well. Okay, so again, you have to, figure out what's your priorities, like I talked about, and if you're, want to get into pre-med or some of these different majors, that Division III model is very, very positive. There's a couple seats. Can you guys stand? Junior college in the fall, I'll be honest, there are a lot of very, very good programs. Same time commitment. They're going about 20 hours per week. And then in the spring, it definitely varies. Some programs do a lot in the spring, but again, it's still a big commitment. And the last thing, hardest step, how much do I expect to play? In life, you have to earn it, no different. Okay? There are kids that are very, I think it's weird, very, very happy to be on the bench of a big name school. For me, I think you have one time in your life to be involved with a team in college athletics. And again, this is where it gets tricky. I'm not saying don't aim high, right? But again, you have to understand your level. Every program needs kids that are just going to practice. That's the reality. And if that's the type of kid you are, and you want to wear the name of a school and just be a practice player, every school needs that. Again, I'm not saying anything wrong with it. If you want to be actively involved in the game situation, you have to evaluate that. So those are little things that you have to, if you can, evaluate it. My recommendation is play. Play. I mean, again, you have one chance in your life to be a college athlete, and I think it's a really neat experience, whatever level you're at, to be involved during the game day and play. And I've coached kids that for 4 years play a handful of games, and it's their choice. And again, we talk to kids. A lot of coaches after the season will sit down and give kids options. Hey, do you want to stay? It's gonna be hard to get playing time, and a lot of kids do stay. I always feel that it's more important to actually play in games and get that experience. And look, if you look even right now, like Louisville City's roster, we have a lot of guys on our roster that played Division II, NAIA. Paco Craig, the starting center back, played Division II. Niall played Division II. It's so the possibilities are very much there. It has nothing to do with just being a Division I player, but you have to play in games. And it's one thing to get a lot of training in, which is good, but you have to get that game experience, to continue to develop. Questions? Good, next one. This, I won't go over all this. It's definitely, again, it's in there. Basically, your academic standards, as you enter, and then into high school or while you're in high school, most high school guidance counselors know this now. 10, 15, 20 years ago, there were still some, high school guidance counselors didn't know much about the NCAA rules. But basically, the NCAA is doing a really good job of making this public for the high schools. And anyway, you go on the website, this is all, I just copied and pasted this. But basically, there's certain requirements you have to be an NCAA student athlete. And it's basically 16 core courses. I'm not going to go over everything, it's in there. But generally, if you hit all these qualifications, you'll be eligible for Division I, II, and III, NAIA, junior college. The one rule that changed that's somewhat significant, before the NCAA, you could get into your senior year and take a lot of classes your senior year and make up for having a bad freshman, sophomore, junior year. And then, with online classes, they saw kids were taking, it just didn't add up how they were taking all these classes their senior year. So now they made a rule that you have to have 10 of your core classes done going into your senior year, which I think is a great rule that ensues that makes sure that all these kids throughout their high school career are still passing their classes and taking the right things. But again, generally, if you hit all these parameters, you're going to be eligible for everything. And I would just reiterate, stay on top of the counselors, and just as a family, again, if your goal is to play in college, just to keep an eye on this and make sure you're hitting all the marks as far as which classes to take. Okay, next one. Okay, so the actual process, we're going to start getting into what do you do each year, how do you write letters, the whole thing. Here's the top, don't compare your process to the others, to other people. And what happens, I see a lot of times, especially on teams, one kid will start getting recruited, and then they'll start talking, and then other parents and kids feel the pressure, and then, well, why can my kid's not getting recruited yet? And well, he committed and he signed. It's different for everybody. It's different for everybody. It happens a lot. You'll see families commit to schools that they really didn't want to, but I think they do because the cooler talk, during the week, and say, oh, my kid just committed or signed with this school, and all of a sudden, well, we better hurry up because if other kids are committing, we better do it. So understand, it's individual, right? You just don't know when your opportunity is going to come and when the right time is for you. Okay? And then the other side, again, the timeline is completely different for boys and girls. Because of Title IX, you saw way more opportunities scholarship-wise for girls. So if it's accelerated greatly, so for the parents in here with female athletes, it's completely accelerated. Everything's almost a year and a half sooner on the girls' side than the boys' side. I personally think it's crazy. I have a daughter that plays. She's in 8th grade now. She's playing up 1 year, and there's girls on her team that are freshmen in high school, getting recruited. And I think back when we were freshmen in high school, I didn't know what we wanted to do, and it's interesting, but it is what it is. So I disagree with it. but it's reality, just so you guys know. All right. So freshman year, basically, I have one now for boys and girls each slide. So for the boys, your freshman year, this is where you want to meet with your counselor right off the bat. Make sure you get off to a good start, taking the right classes. Let them know you want to be an NCAA student athlete. Again, watch soccer, college, pro, like a Louisville City games, a little plug. No, and I put that because, again, it's just good to continue to watch the game and understand the different levels of play. Even watch some of the guys, like I said, you go to Louisville City game, if you get both rosters, you can see, like, oh, this guy played at this school, he played at this school. And you'll start to see right away, it's not all about the big Division I schools. It's really not. People will be surprised when you go through MLS rosters, USL rosters, how many of these professional soccer players are not Division I caliber, not going to say caliber, from Division I schools. Okay? You'll be really, really surprised just because people develop at different pace. And again, you got to play. There's a lot of big recruits that go to big schools and then never play, and then the career kind of stops. Become a better soccer player. Okay? I know it sounds ironic, but you're trying to go through the process. You got to continue to work on your skill and get better. Okay? And then I have down ID camps. They're not necessary. So I see a lot of kids start going already now to ID camps, when they're freshmen. On the boys' side, it's really not necessary. So the freshman year, if you're a boy, it seems pretty basic. It is. Start getting your academics in line. Okay, make sure you start taking the right classes. Start having that 4-year plan, right? And then really just work on your skills. I know it sounds weird, okay, but that's the biggest thing. Because if you want to get recruited, you just got to become a better player. The girls' side, a little bit different on the girls' side. Still meet with your counselor. If you're a top female player, you will start to get recruited on the girls' side, just so you know. You can contact coaches, and this goes for the boys as well. I just can put on there because it doesn't happen much. You can contact coaches as a freshman and sophomore, but we cannot contact you back. You can email us. All we can send you is an email back saying, thank you, we received it, but due to NCAA rules, we cannot send you any recruiting material until your junior year. Just so everyone knows. You could call a college coach, call their office. They cannot call you back. The only way they can is if it's for camp. If you have a camp question, hey, I'm going to your camp next week, what do I have to wear? They can call you back. If you call them up and say, hey, I saw you were at the tournament this weekend, I'm a freshman, what'd you think? They cannot call you back. They can communicate with a high school coach and a club coach, and that's what happens, especially on the female side. During that time, they go watch someone play at a tournament, and they'll call the club coach and say, hey, I saw Sally play. I liked her. What can you tell about me? Can you let her know that I'm from school X, and we like her? Just give her a heads up. So that's how it would happen at the freshman level, especially on the girls' side. The boys' side, I was at U of L for 5 years. Never, ever did we recruit a freshman player. And there's been a lot of youth national team kids in this area, between Louisville, Southern Indiana, and Indianapolis. Never once have we even remotely talked about recruiting someone who's a freshman in high school. Just so everyone knows that. Any school I've been at, we've never once. It's just, there's so much physical development that goes on the boys' side that it doesn't make sense. No on-campus contact with the coaching staff. So you can go visit a campus. There's a new rule. I don't like it. This year's the first year of it. So you go visit a school, that coach cannot say hi to you. It's really bizarre. I think it puts coaches in a weird spot. Family shows up at the office door. You basically say, hi, how you doing? I can't talk to you. See ya. And you push them out the door. But it's a new NCAA rule. They're trying to slow down recruiting. So they're hoping that does that. So just so you know, if you happen to go to a campus and let's go see the coach, or they're practicing, you say hi, they really can't do anything with you. Again, small percentage will get actually recruited, and then again, continue to watch it, become a better player. ID camps, on the girls' side, it does become real. Just again, with the amount of colleges that are out there and the amount of girls are playing, they actually can be useful for sure. All right, next one, we'll go to the sophomore year. Okay, boys, again, continue. I would highly recommend every single year. I know they do it for, I understand that they do it, but just as a parent, keep an eye and make sure that your child is taking the right classes. If possible, I start taking college tours. So one thing, I've always done with our kids, even though I'm in college, I was in college coaching. Say you visit a family member in South Carolina, and you happen to be by University of South Carolina, go visit it. Just, meet it for 2-3 hours, walk around campus, get a feel for it, go visit a small school, visit a big school. Yeah, I would highly recommend if you're, as you guys go to tournaments around the area, find a campus. Even if you don't think it's a school you would ever go to it. Because you never know. You would never know what you might not like. You might think, I'm always want to go to a huge campus, and then all of a sudden you end up at a small school. You're like, actually, I like this. This is feels comfortable. And on the flip side, you might always think that you want to go to a small campus, and then you get there and you're like, woof, too small. I got recruited by 2 different schools, a private Catholic school, 3,000 students, and a big state school. I didn't know. I went to the small, on a recruiting visit, small Catholic school, and I was like, this is way too small. Like, in 3 days, I saw everybody, you started seeing the same people, and I ended up going, I didn't think I would, but I ended up going to a big state school. And that was just for me. But you have to get out there and take little visits like this. And I think it's a good time your sophomore year just to start thinking about it. And again, as you're doing, I wouldn't do anything crazy, but if you're on vacation, try it out. College camps, now I put down, it can be helpful, okay? And it's helpful if you get recruited. I say that with everything. You go to a college showcase with your team. There's showcases everywhere. If you get recruited, you'll say, as a family, yeah, it was worth it. If you don't, you'll say, why are we going to these showcases? It's not worth it. It's all relative. You go to an ID camp, and coaches do recruit from ID camps. They do. But there's 200 boys there or 200 girls there. And if you recruit 3, as a college coach, that's a good ID camp. I'll be honest with you. If you're the 197 other kids and families that went, you'll say this was a waste of money. Again, I'm not saying it's the best way to do it, the right way to do it. It's all relative. What happened with camps, and here's just a quick summary. The NCAA at the Division I level will not allow college coaches to coach kids outside of basically it's a 35-mile radius. So if I'm at U of L and there's they literally there's a club team. Let's just say I'm Southern Indiana and you have a kid coming down from what's like 20 miles from here. Seymour. Very perfect, right? But from U of L, that's 40 miles. I couldn't coach that club team because of that one kid. It's a recruiting violation. So the only way at the Division I level that we're actually allowed to work with potential recruits is through camps. And if you go to them, you'll see a lot of coaches that are usually actively involved. They'll run sessions and coach the kids and all that because you want to see how a kid interacts. Are they coachable? How they get along with others? But that's a big reason why the colleges do it is because it allows you to actually coach the kids. Outside of that, it's very difficult with the NCAA rules. Division I level to coach. Division II is different. Division II, you can actually go to a campus when you're a senior and practice with a team. They're allowed certain kind of opportunity, which is a great rule. It's good for the coaches. It's good for the recruits. They get to meet the players. They get to actually literally play and go through a session with them. It's a great rule. So if you get recruited by Division II schools, you can do that. NAIA, you can do that. Junior college, you can do that. The only one that can't is Division I. We can have, when you're on campus, we can't have any sort of soccer interaction with you from a coaching unless it's a camp. Just so you guys know. Okay. Residential versus ID camp, the only difference is the length of time and cost. Right? Generally, they're going to be twice the cost. But you're going to have, instead of maybe a 2-day camp, you have a 4-day camp. Generally, there's not much difference. Camps are what they are. Again, some people love them, and the kids enjoy it. Financially, obviously, they're expensive, and it could add up. It's not for me to say to the family what you should and shouldn't do. And again, if you get recruited by it, you'll say it's worth it. You just got to be cognizant of it. The part that I see what happens with camps, so kids start just going to camp after camp after camp after camp after camp, and they're not going based on the criteria. So yeah, I'm speaking at SIU when I was there. you'd have kids show up and you get to, you talk to them a little bit. Like, well, why'd you come to this camp? Well, I just want to see if I get recruited. Well, do you know anything about SAUE? No, not really. I was like, well, probably not a good idea. Maybe they have plenty of money and it's on them. But if you're going to go to these camps, make it a school that you do like. Okay, you know what? I'm going to go to the school anyways. I'm going to give it a shot. Use the camp almost as a tryout. We see that. I think that's sometimes smart that SAUE kids be like, I'm going to go to SAUE no matter what. It's kind of a tryout because Division I can't have an open tryout for the community. You can't do that. Once they're students, you can. So a lot of kids sometimes use it that I'm going there. I'm going to IU no matter what. I'm going to call Coach Yeagley and I'm going to go to the camp and maybe I can make it as a walk-on. That's fine, but you see a lot of kids, a lot of families just go to camp after camp after camp after camp, hoping. And sometimes it works, but just really hoping that they get caught on. Yes?
What about these camps where there's representation from about 50 different colleges there?
If it's a college camp, I would say so. There's a lot of private companies doing this. And the issue I have with the private companies doing this is they'll hire sometimes anyone from the staff from that school. So they could say, all right, SAUE's there. They might hire my director of operations. And now I'm not saying that they can't do a good job, but you don't know who is going to be actually evaluating your child. So you got to be a little bit. And generally those camps are not on neutral sites either. They're usually generally not on college campuses. Sometimes they'll rent out Grand Park, and they'll just have a camp there. I've seen that. I would be more geared towards going to a campus that you might be interested in. You're on that campus, and you get a feel for the campus. What schools are doing a better job of, if SIU has a camp, I'll invite 15 other colleges from around the area as well to come in and to evaluate to make it worthwhile for the families. And that's generally what's happening. The private ones, you got to be careful. That's all I can say is you got to be careful with that. So that's a really good question. Really good question. PSAT, highly recommend you take the PSAT during this time. And again, still just work on becoming better. The girls' side, again, a little bit different. It's crazy. If you're one of the top female players, you'll start receiving scholarship offers. And you'll say, well, how can they receive a scholarship offer if they're really not supposed to talk to the college coach? It works its way through the club coach or the high school coach. They're not binding because you don't sign anything till you're a senior. Again, I think they actually can't even put it in writing. Like, you can't receive an email, a letter, a napkin of, hey, here's your scholarship offer. The NCAA changed that rule too. You can orally say it and have verbal agreement and a handshake, but really that I think is going to continue to change even on the girls' side because of these new rules. But females are receiving offers at this point. Generally, it's going to be your top female players that are, if it's a full ride, the coach just says, hey, to the club coach, tell Sally she's got a full ride. That's pretty straightforward. If it's, hey, we're going to give her 5,000 of this and a little bit of this, a little bit of that, it becomes a little more difficult. But you will hear of female soccer players receiving scholarship offers as sophomores. Yeah, I think it's crazy, but that's what's happening. All right, junior year. This is when you're going to want to get going into the summer of your junior year. You're going to start wanting to get aggressive. This is a key year, and I would say again for sure for boys and majority of girls. Okay, so again, starts off the same. Still check with your counselor, the camps. Definitely take your ACT and your SAT because this will be more giving an indication for academic scholarship. So the sooner you can start taking that, I think by your junior year you have a pretty good idea, different classes and the math portions of it. So it'll give you an idea of what kind of academic scholarships potentially you could receive. Register for the NCAA Eligibility Center. If you just literally Google that, any student athlete that goes on to play Division I, Division II, you have to register. And so it's something you just want to do. I think it's $55 now. It's an NCAA rule. you have to do it, and basically you register and you send in your transcripts, and they're certifying that you're NCAA eligible. Official visits. So now, if you're getting recruited, it's a new rule that started this year. Schools can pay for you to make a visit. What an official visit means is any portion of your trip to a school is paid for. It could be, I buy you a soda, that's now an official visit. Okay? There'll be paperwork, and you're not going to surprise you, and it's not going to be, oh, I just took an official visit, I didn't know that. Prior to it, you get a letter saying this is one of your official visits. But I wanted people to know that it doesn't, you hear about sometimes, the big recruit getting flown somewhere and wine and dine and all that stuff, okay? And in soccer, you take kids out to a nice dinner, and you do all that stuff, but it can be something as little as literally buying a pencil for someone, a soda, okay? That can be an official visit. It will be. If the school pays for any portion of your visit, it's official. Unofficial visit, you can take as many as you want, and basically what it says is all the costs are on you. Every single cost, you can do the same thing as an official visit. You can meet with a coach, counselors, admission office, watch practice, watch a game, but you've paid for everything, every portion of that trip. You can take as many unofficial visits, and I recommend it, again, that you'll visit schools as much as you want. That's all on the individual, okay? Communication with coaches. All right, so now this is the part that the job becomes very much on the family. Okay, this is what I say, that very few kids just sit back and say, all right, let the emails come in, let the offers come in. This is where you quite honestly have to market yourself. This is the big portion that everybody wants to hear about. Okay, there's basically 3 ways of doing it. First one, the email, right? You send an email to a coach, okay? You want to get some basics right off the bat. And I say your name. You'd be always surprised if people forget their names. Okay? Hey, you know what? And they start right into it. Your name, your high school, what year you graduate, GPA, if you've taken any of the tests, ACT, SAT, PSAT. Okay? You want to get those basic stats. That's information right away. Your club team, your position that you play. Okay? Your jersey number. We get a lot. That kids forget to put their jersey number, so you try to go watch a kid play, and sometimes you listen for a name. You can figure it out, but you want to make it as easy as possible for these college coaches to go to somewhere, whatever it is, and know, all right, I'm watching Johnny Smith, number 7, center mid. Okay, there he is. You want to make it easy, because you got to understand, we get flooded with emails, okay, and coaches go through them. I mean, the majority of the time, kind of reason I got out of college soccer is you spend probably 75-80% of the time just going through the recruiting side, the email side of it, and it's a lot of work. Okay, so you want to get the basics. Then, okay, you want to let them know where you're playing. If it's your high school season, if it's your club season, your tournament, specifics. I am playing this Saturday, 8 o'clock at blank. All right? Let them, again, make it as easy as possible. Then where everyone goes wrong is they only do it once and they never contact that school again. And they say, well, I emailed them. They know I'm interested. Quite honestly, you want to do this before almost every tournament. And I wouldn't say, every single league game, but you want to do it on a regular basis. Because as a coach, if we sit there and say, okay, you know what, I've received 6 emails now from Johnny Smith, I got to go watch him play. He's really interested, or at least I got to call the club coach. I got to do my research on this kid because he's putting a lot of effort into it. I got to see. So that's the part where most people get wrong, is they send one email to the school and that's it. Generally, most schools do try to respond. Now, like at U of L, I mean, you get upwards of 100, 200 a day. Sometimes it gets difficult. Okay, but we try to have a 48-hour policy. We at least just say quick acknowledgement, hey, we received it. We'll get back to you with more information, but we'll let you know received it. That doesn't always happen. So again, a lot of families send one out, don't get anything back, say, well, maybe I guess they're not interested. They just might be just inundated with emails. So continue to follow up with those emails. I'll stop there. Questions? I don't know about that side of it. Okay, Video. So yes.
Are college soccer players able to have jobs in the summertime or professional internships?
Yes, and I'd say that at the high level Division One, I'll just be honest, it's not as common because these guys they're playing. There's a summer league called the PDL, like you used to have the Rovers. Kids do. Don't get me wrong, kids do. You know what I mean? But at the Division One level, you see less and less than that. They're training. They're trying to get opportunities. They're trying to go train with MLS teams, USL teams. They're playing the PDL league, which is League 2 now. And then usually when they work camps. But you have kids again who, definitely go and do internships. But it's at the Division One level, it's a little more rare. Quite honestly, more kids are. What's going on now is more kids are taking actually just classes, online classes, to accelerate graduation. We see that more than anything else. But the coaches will develop that schedule. They'll make sure that, hey, if you're with me, all right, I know you're going to take your summer class from 8 to 10, and then you're going to go train. Okay, so that's a really good question, though. Very good question. The video side now, 10 years ago, I would have said, don't send videos because it would have been a parent on top of a stadium shaking and like wobbling. You get seasick from watching it. It's all emotional. And now there's actually some legitimate companies that come in. They have a high tripod. You can get a very good angle, and it can be done right. Okay, so videos are useful. When you do video, you want to do 3 to 4 minutes. Okay, and when I say the word highlights, I say it loosely. What we don't want to see is the soccer player we get clips of just ball being kicked real far, or slide tackling for 2 minutes and heading the ball. You want to see the game. So generally I tell parents is when you do a video, you want to, before your child receives the ball, 3 seconds before they receive it and 3 or 4 seconds after they receive it. Because the coach, you want to see how were they moving before they got the ball, they played it, then what happened. And so a lot of times we just get videos of just player getting the ball, player kicking the ball, whatever, and you're just like, okay, what happened? Like you can't read anything from it. Parents will send videos of like goal kicks, free kicks. Like we don't need to see someone take a free kick from the half-field line. We understand that most kids can kick the ball. We don't need to see that. So like throw-ins, that's a big thing right now. People love the long throw-in. Maybe one of them, if you have a real long throw-in, we don't need to see a minute of you throwing the ball in after game after game after game. We get it. Okay, so you just got to be smart about it. Then you don't have to send it, but have online somewhere access to a full game. Have a good one, okay? And a good game is not a 6-7-0 win that you score 6 goals. Because that's going to tell us, well, who are you playing against? A good game is 1-1, 2-1, you lose. We don't care about the result. It's not like we're like emotionally tied into this. Oh, I hope he wins. Just want to see a good game. You know what I mean? So have that available that the coach might watch the highlights, say, oh, this looks pretty good. You have a full game, and you can just send the link right away. That's an important one. Look, and all of our kids can make these videos now. I mean, on their phones they can do it. They all put on YouTube. So it's nothing that, we're asking them that's too hard to do. And there are some, you asked a question about, the private camp. There are actually some companies that do a pretty good job of now that they'll come in, they'll do a club package, and maybe, everybody chips in $50, and then they produce a game. It's actually not a bad idea sometimes to have that. Especially if you're, trying to go to schools outside of like a 4 to 6 hour radius where that school might not come out to see you. It's actually a pretty good idea. And talking Division 2, Division 3, NAIA, they very much recruit using video. Division 1, the budget-wise, you can go out and see most kids. They can go anywhere we need it. But Division 2, Division 3, NAIA, junior college, it's actually very useful now. Okay. Text, you're allowed to text. Coach can text you back and forth. Okay, starting your junior year. So if you get in a relationship with a coach and it's going well, like anything this day and age, still text. Phone calls, you can go back and forth. Same thing, you can call, they can call you back. Okay. Social media, we all know it. I say be very, very careful. Be very, very careful. Obviously, parents will tell you employment-wise, almost every employer goes through it and looks at it when you try to hire somebody, and it's no different recruiting. Look, we understand they're kids, so if it's silly and all that, fine, but obviously you get kids, that put some really interesting things on there, and it absolutely affects recruiting 100%. The last thing an AD wants is, you sign a kid and all of a sudden something comes out because of social media that they posted, even if it was when they were freshmen in high school. It's very real. So for you kids in the room, you're probably tired of hearing it from parents. It absolutely affects recruiting 100%, like anything else in life now. So make sure you be careful of that. And coaches will communicate through Facebook, Instagram, and all that stuff. There's a lot. I'm not getting all the rules. There are tons of rules the NCAA has, what we can like and not like, and repost and retweet. There are rules, but they do use it to recruit for sure. Questions? Yes?
Can too much communication push a coach away, and what do you feel is the most effective kind of communication?
I think like anything, if you're like, so I guess broadly, yes. What I say, like I say, it's just keep them up to date on events, like major events. It doesn't have to be, I had a great practice today, coach. I scored 2 goals in training. Okay, and then, the next day. What I say is, like, if you're just playing a league schedule, you don't have any tournaments, maybe every 3 or 4 weeks, hey, coach, we're now, we're doing really well in league. I've scored this amount of goals. Here's a big game coming up. Thanks, just want to let you know. It's more of, once you get into outside league, you start doing a few tournaments. I would, before every tournament, 100%, just a quick update. We're playing in the, Crossroads tournament, and, this weekend, here's my schedule, just a reminder. And it could be the next week. Oh, hey, coach, now we're playing in the blue chip, whatever it is. So on that side, yeah. If you don't have anything really to say, then it's okay. You don't need to hear everything. But it's a good question. Same thing, with once you get into the texting and all that. Some kids, I've told kids, look, I understand you're interested, and I have told kids, like, you can slow down a little bit. Keep me up to date. I'll tell them on your tournaments and stuff like that. But I don't need to hear it after every league game. It does after a while. Like, yeah, to league. It's a little bit tough. Yes.
And you're talking. This comes from the kids. You don't want all the parents doing anything like this, right?
So that's what I was going to get into after all this phone calls on that. It should come from the child. I'd rather receive a poorly written email that a child puts out there than the perfect email from the parent. Obviously we want to see the child take initiative. We want them to take responsibility. We want to know it's for them. Because what we do know, again, is that a lot of parents are doing this, there's an investment. Again, I have 4 kids. All my kids play soccer. There is a financial investment we all put into the sport. We're in Louisville City. We're trying to do stuff to help that. But, sometimes it's like, oh, I put all this money into it. My kid didn't want to get a scholarship. So we do get I won't say a lot, but there's a certain percentage of emails that come from parents. And it's a turnoff. It's very, very much so a turnoff because you just don't know. Even if they say, oh, my kid's interested in your school, we'll say, well, have your child email me then. Have your child call me, whatever he wants. And we know it's awkward. It's hard sometimes for a kid. It's hard for a 16-year-old to call someone in my mid-40s and be like, hey, coach, I'm interested. We get that, and we try to, you were nice to them, and you really appreciated them. And I also think just life lessons is good for them. So 100% have your child do it. So, very, very good point. Very, very good point. Junior year, you'll start to hear about verbal commitments. You hear in other sports, football, basketball. And all that means is, they've talked, they've agreed on it. There's nothing to sign. Soccer still only has a signing period as a senior. They're talking about doing one as a junior, but for men's and women's soccer, it's only the senior year. So you'll start hearing kids, they tweet, I just verbally committed to school, whatever. Okay, it's just it's not binding. So if by chance you get the opportunity to have an early commitment, it's not binding. That coach could leave, and the AD or the new coach does not have to honor that whatsoever. Okay, I'm gonna hold there real fast. Okay. Any junior year? Any questions? We'll go to the female slide. Really the biggest difference on the girls side is this, more and more offers. Here's what I'll tell you on the guys' side. Okay? You're still majority, 75-80% of boys are still not going to be committing in their junior year. It's still going to be a lot of recruiting going on. Do not get worried if you hear about kids as juniors committing to schools. It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. 75-80% of recruiting on the boys' side still done the senior year, just so you guys know. And that's the truth. I mean, you know, you'll definitely hear about kids junior committing, okay, but 75-80% recruiting is done. Even I say done, like offers out and all that stuff in the senior year. Okay, we'll go ahead now to the senior year. Okay. So again, high school counselors, okay, and I put that all schools are definitely still recruiting. All of them. All of them. Every school is still recruiting as a senior year. And the reason why on the guys' side is that there's more in men's college soccer, the coach has the upper hand recruiting. There's just not as many spots, there's less scholarships. You have international recruiting going on now, there's transferring going on, so everybody, you know, it's a lot more patient on the boys' side. Physical development. There's a lot of kids that hit puberty, you know, between their junior and senior year. It happens all the time. There's a kid you're like, oh, is he undersized, or is he this, that, the other? And then all of a sudden, 4 months later, he's grown 4 or 5 inches, put on 30, 40 pounds. He looks like a whole new player. So on the boys' side, it is drastically different. Females obviously develop sooner, so it tends to slow down their senior year because now coaches have an idea of what that athlete's going to look like. And because there's a ton of more scholarships on the female side, so that's why it's accelerated. On the boys' side, everyone's still recruiting. And I think everyone, like, again, U of L, IU, everyone. And there's a lot of opportunities here. So don't feel bad if you're going into your senior year, you still don't know. If your goal is still to play college soccer, there's plenty of opportunity. Junior college, NAIA, Division III, they're just really starting. Because a lot of those schools kind of wait to see what's trickling down from Division I. Division II might have a few commitments their junior year, but that's what I say, the majority of schools are 100% still recruiting their senior year. Okay, so there's tons of opportunity. Obviously, you know, continue, take your ACT, SAT, all that stuff we just talked about. Okay, now it's just, you gotta just stay on top of it. Stay on top of it, stay on top of it, stay on top of it. If your goal is just to play somewhere, this will go on into your April, May of your senior year. It very well could. Junior colleges don't even start offering usually until the spring of someone's senior year. And I say there is a lot of athletic aid in junior colleges. Division II, a lot of kids still being offered in the spring of their senior year. And that's a family decision. And that's why it goes back to that very first slide I had, that you have to know what you're looking for. Are you going to wait, or are you going to commit? You know, when I say commit, you know, go to a school just because of the academics and it's the right fit. You have to know what you're looking for. Okay, but there is a lot of opportunities still out there. On the boys' side, girls is completely different. On the boys' side, in your senior year, 100%. Next slide. I think this will be girls. Again, this much pretty much done. You can do one more. Okay, so just to sum it up, if there's any more questions, it is not an easy process. It's work. You can see already it's a lot of work. Okay, make sure you know what you want, and tell you as parents, this will save you a lot of money. Everything from applying for admission for a lot of schools. I mean, you're talking everywhere. Those are now upwards of $75, $100 a pop. You know what I mean? Obviously the camps and everything go along with it. Make sure you know what you want. Be proactive. Be proactive. I've seen kids that I would have never thought would play college soccer at any level get scholarships because they just stick with it. And that was their goal. There's some kids that, you know what, I just want to go anywhere. When I was the head coach at UNLV in Las Vegas, there was a kid I worked with, great kid, was a below average player, ended up getting a full scholarship to a small school in Iowa. He was fine with that. He's like, look, his parents they didn't have the money to give him. It was up to him. And he went, and there's like 1,000 students, small little tiny school. He got his 4-year degree, all paid for. He had a good experience. I still stay in touch with him now. He's in his 30s. Great guy. And for him, it was worth it. And for other people, it's not. Other people are going to go to UK no matter what. Oh, if I can get recruited, great. If not, I'm going to UK. I'm going to U of L. And that's fine. Just know what you want. And again, don't be influenced. Okay, about other parents, not kids, other parents talking about their child's recruiting experience. Because again, I see that'll happen a lot. It kind of sways families, and people may end up making interesting choices more because of the rumors. And again, ultimately, it's about finding the right fit for you and your family. And I say family because it's a family commitment. Any questions? Anything? Look, I'm out of the NCAA per se. Not that I would hide anything, but I can. I'm here again, having coached from the top of U of L, Akron. SIUE was a Division I, a smaller school with only 10,000 students, no football and all that. So I've seen the spectrum of it all. I don't say win at all costs, but some programs that you got to do it all. Yes.
Just go into some detail maybe about like the mental side of college soccer. We talk a lot about your individual skill, but
yep.
I do feel like there's a lot.
It's
you said about more.
Yeah. So it's very, very mentally demanding because now it's. Depending on where you go, and I would say like some coaches don't want to win. Everyone wants to win. But the physical demand, the mental demand, it becomes, usually we see it in practice. Kids, everyone's like, oh, I love playing soccer. I practice every day. But now you're under everyone's good. And now, the whole story about, you used to be the best and now you're, everyone's just as good. And it's, obviously you're not going to be promised playing time. So now you're working so hard, and you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm doing all this work and I don't play, or I just can't catch up to the game. It's too fast. So the mental side usually becomes very, very difficult, especially your freshman year. Everything's thrown at you. You're away from home. You're in a new environment. You're on the bottom of the totem pole. You got 22, 23-year-old men, right? Dealing with, talking to 18-year-old, still some other kids. Some kids are mature enough. At Akron, the rules changed a little bit. My last year at Akron, we had 3 guys who were 26-year-olds. Because the rules were a little bit different back then. And we had freshmen at 18. 26. I was at the time, I was the assistant, I was 30. These guys were my peers. So that mental side, it becomes very, very real. How you deal with it. And that is, it's difficult. The coaches are going to want you to do good grades, perform on the field, perform in the community. It's very tough. It's very draining. Most athletes, people don't realize the typical athletic department GPA is over 3.0. At SIUE we had a 3.4. And we took it serious, the academic side of it. So you have study table, you monitor them. We literally got weekly reports on our guys. You're held accountable, and it's hard for kids. You do community service. All the stuff we know as adults is really good for you, and it's good habits. When you're 18, 19, 20, that you want to go party sometimes. And that's the part that a lot of kids, they'll become friends with someone in the fraternity, and now there's parties on the weekend, but you got games or you got training, and some kids, you got to know what you want, that time commitment, and that mental side becomes very, very difficult. It's a good question, really good question. Yes?
I'm sure there's plenty of kids in the room that are thinking that they are only going to go to U of L, only go to IU. Can you walk us through the process, the walk-on process, and how competitive it is at those big state schools?
Generally, everyone will do some sort of walk-on trial. Usually those take place during the academic year. They won't have them. I don't know anyone who at a big school does them in preseason. So they used to be like, oh, come to preseason, we're going to have tryouts. You just don't have time. You only get 10 days basically before your first real game. So generally they take place in the spring semester. It is extremely, I'm trying to think at U of L, 5 years there, if we had anyone, I don't think we had anyone that actually made the team. We had a few kids we invited back to a few trainings, hey, you're not bad, but I don't think through a pure walk-on tryout at 5 years at U of L, I'm trying to think of any school now that I think about it. SIU, we had one kid in 4 years. probably 20 years, I might be missing one or two, maybe 5 I can think of that made it at Division I level. Everyone has them, right? The NCAA rule is to have an open tryout. They have to be for full-time students at that school. Okay, so and again, everyone's going to have them because you have nothing to lose. You never know if someone out of the blue shows up. You just do so much recruiting these day and age that it's very, very rare that you find a kid that you didn't know about, especially at a big school. You know what I mean? It's very difficult. Division II, Division III, junior college, all the other programs, they definitely do them. A lot of schools now are doing JV teams, which are legitimate. They fund them. Some schools even have scholarships for JV teams. They'll have a full-time coach. And then so kids who are not quite ready for the varsity team will do JV. And then you see kids will move on to the varsity team. That's happening in a lot of Division II, Division III, and NAIA schools. A lot. So it's Division I. It is generally difficult. They'll use the ID camps late in the spring. Like I said, like they'll have kids that they'll email and say, hey, I'm going to be going to U of L in the fall. We'll say, we'll come to our spring ID camp. And that'll basically be their tryout. But it's very, Division I is very, very difficult. But other divisions, it's very possible. It's a good question. Anyone else? So I just want to leave you with this. Anyone in this room can do it, unless you're old like us parents. But no, for the kids and your children, it is 100% possible. 100% possible. 100% possible. You put the work into it, and you did both, obviously, the soccer side of it, and then I say marketing yourself is possible, if you're open. If you only have a few schools you want to go to, and you say, hey, I'm going to go to U of L, UK, Notre Dame, and whatever, and NIU. Just understand, there's nothing wrong with having that. It's just a very, very difficult road, because now you're talking, they're recruiting, not I want to say nationally, internationally. I mean, you're recruiting, you're trying to compete against literally the whole world, and on average, most programs bring in 7 to 8 kids for the whole program per year. So it's just, again, it's not that it's not possible, but it's just difficult. And if that's what you want, that's fine. And if you say, you know what, if I don't make it, that's cool, I'm still going there, that's great. So just know what you want as you go through this process as a family, and you'll save yourself some grief and financial dollars at the end of it all. Good? Awesome. All right, now, I think, was the gentleman that wanted the tickets, remember?
Yes.
Yep. You want a quick announcement on that?
Yes.
Yep.
Blake.
Real quick, guys. I'm Blake Montgomery, former coach SIU. I'm sure I've seen a lot of you guys and coached a lot of your kids. We are actually a proud sponsor of Louisville City FC. My company is. I have a billboard company, and we get 4 tickets to every match that are really nice padded seats. And I like to use them to my sponsors, but more importantly, I like to give them back to the SIU community. So if there's anybody here that's never been to a Louisville City game, can't afford it, or just is curious about it, just email me, call me, and I'll be glad to put you on the schedule and give you 4 free tickets to any game during the season. I just want to give back to all you guys. So my email address is Blake, B-L-A-K-E, at jrbillboards.com, and my phone number is 502-338-2479, and I'd be glad to help you guys out.
Thank
Awesome.
you, Blake.
Thanks, Blake.
It's very generous.
And just last thing, I just want to thank SIU because this relationship I've had on a personal level. It's been amazing. I'm looking forward to working with the club and the families. With my position with Louisville City, basically they've allowed me the freedom to, it's called youth development, and to get out of the community and work with every group. We're doing a lot of stuff with inner city kids, with trying to make it this sport about what it should be, about making fun, passion, and just giving back. So the other thing I'll ask the friends and parents, if you have any community groups or organizations that you'd want me to work with, just let me know. I'm doing as much as I can out in the community. But I want to thank you guys for being really good ambassadors of the sport. I love what SIU's doing, both soccer-wise in the community. I think it's awesome. And we're looking forward to working with you guys and continuing a great partnership with you guys.
Thank you.
So thank you guys. All right.
Just to wrap up. just a couple things before you go. You touched on it briefly of working in the community. Mario's doing a program in Jefferson County Public Schools working with inner city kids. And Dutch is actually, Coach Viger, our director of coaching, is actually going over to Jefferson County to work with Mario on this program in hopes of bringing some of the observations and feedback back into our housing authority. We've entered a partnership with the Parks Department where we're going to go into the 4 housing authority locations and start working with those kids to try and give them an avenue to play soccer. So if anyone has any volunteer hours or service hours, we have a lot of ways we're going to be trying to plug the high school kids back into the community, or even as adults, if you're interested in volunteer time, just let me know, because we're always looking for help to keep this program going. To go back to the high school program, I hope you're not taking me. We actually have several girls at the club who have signed letters of intent,
Awesome.
or in the process of it, and several boys. So there's always been a question of, can you play college soccer and can you continue? Yes. And hopefully by May or June we'll be having some more announcements about that. Neil's daughter was the most recent one at Anderson University. Kathy's son is hopefully doing something soon. So just look, there's kids older than you that have gone through this process and going to have success with this process. I'm looking at Jake because he has Austin at Providence who signed with Wabash. So there's a lot of potential there. I do want to take this time because you may know someone, a board member on your team, but you may not know all of them, and we have several in the room. Just wanted to point out, Andy is one of our VPs, Dave's our president, Rob is Fields, Brandy's secretary, and Kathy's finance, and they put in a lot of volunteer hours to keep the administrative side of the club going. So just pointing it out and make sure to thank them because it is a lot of time to keep all this going. If you want to see a college game locally, it's not on that calendar, but it's on my calendar. IU is playing Louisville City down here, I think, on August or April 19th. Is it?
No,
it's
they're playing
U
you're playing U of L.
Oh, never
yeah,
mind. I'm sorry. I am all IU programs. So IU's playing U of L in Louisville.
Man, I go, unless that just happened since I've been up here.
I have it written down. Okay. Never mind that. IU's played U of L down here, which we usually try and go see because it's 2 great programs. Yep. And that's about it. So thank you for coming. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask Mario.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.